Behavioral competencies. Leadership cluster. There are 3 behavioral competencies in the leadership cluster: leadership and navigation, ethical practice, and inclusion and diversity. These competencies describe the behaviors, attributes, and underlying knowledge necessary for HR professionals to effectively lead and support an HR team while promoting integrity, accountability, inclusion, and the organization's core values. Key components of leadership behavioral competencies include setting and implementing a vision and direction for the HR function, managing or leading organizational initiatives, influencing and supporting other organizational members and leaders, driving an ethical organizational environment, behaving in an ethical manner that promotes high standards of integrity and the organization's values, cultivating and supporting an inclusive and diverse culture that supports organizational performance, and ensuring equity effectiveness. Leadership and navigation. Leadership and navigation is defined as the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics, KSAOs, needed to create a compelling vision and mission for HR that aligns with the strategic direction and culture of the organization, accomplish HR and organizational goals, lead and promote organizational change, navigate the organization, and manage the implementation and execution of HR initiatives. Subcompetencies. Navigating the organization. Vision. Managing HR initiatives. Influence. Key concepts. Leadership theories. Examples include situational leadership, transformational leadership, participative leadership, inclusive leadership, leader-member exchange theory, servant leadership, transactional leadership, trait theory, contingency theory. People management techniques. Examples include directing, coaching, supporting, delegating, mentoring. Motivation theories. Examples include goal-setting theory, expectancy theory, attribution theory, self-determination theory, equity theory, Herzberg's two-factor theory. Influence and persuasion techniques. Examples include personal appeal, forming coalitions, leading by example, rational persuasion. Personal leadership qualities. Examples include vision, self-motivation, self-discipline, risk-taking, commitment to continuous learning, growth mindset. SHRM competency. 1. Navigating the organization. Works within the parameters of the organization's hierarchy, processes, systems, and policies. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals. Demonstrates an understanding of formal and informal work roles, leader goals and interests, and relationships among employees and executives. Facilitates communication and decision-making necessary to implement initiatives. Uses awareness and understanding of the organization's political environment and culture to implement HR initiatives. Uses an understanding of the organization's structure, processes, systems, and policies to facilitate the successful implementation of HR initiatives. For advanced HR professionals. Uses an understanding of complex relationships among organizational leaders to facilitate the design, implementation, and maintenance of initiatives. Uses an understanding of the organization's political environment to develop and implement HR strategic direction, implement needed changes, and resolve talent needs and issues. Uses an understanding of the complex relationships among the organization's formal and informal processes, systems, and policies to facilitate the development and implementation of HR strategic direction. SHRM competency. Vision. Defines and supports a coherent vision and long-term goals for HR that support the strategic direction of the organization. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals. Embraces and supports the business units and/or organization's culture, values, mission, and goals. Defines actionable goals for the development and implementation of HR programs, practices, and policies that support the strategic vision of HR and the organization. Identifies opportunities to improve HR operations that better align with and support the strategic vision of HR and the organization. Supports the implementation of HR programs, practices, and policies that uphold the strategic vision of HR and the organization. For advanced HR professionals. Envisions the current and ideal future states of the HR function, organization, and culture to identify gaps and areas for improvement. Develops the long-term strategic direction, vision, and goals of HR and the organization to close the gap between the current and ideal states of the HR function and the organization. Develops and socializes a broad plan to achieve the strategic direction, vision, and goals of HR and the organization. Solicits feedback from executive-level stakeholders on strategic direction, vision, and goals. Pivots HR strategy, approaches, and/or programs in response to significant changes within and outside of the organization. SHRM competency. Managing HR initiatives. Implements and supports HR projects that align with HR and organizational objectives. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals. Defines and elaborates on project requirements set by leadership. Sets and monitors project goals and progress milestones. Manages project budgets and resources. Identifies and develops solutions for overcoming obstacles to the successful completion of projects. Identifies and monitors the resources necessary to implement and maintain HR projects. Identifies when resource allocation is inconsistent with project needs and makes adjustments as necessary. Demonstrates agility and adaptability when project requirements, goals, or constraints change. For advanced HR professionals. Translates HR's vision, strategic direction, and long-term goals into specific projects and initiatives with clear timelines and goals. Monitors the progress of HR initiatives toward achievement of HR's vision, strategic direction, and long-term goals. Collaborates with leadership to remove obstacles to the successful implementation of HR initiatives. Obtains and deploys organizational resources and monitors their effectiveness. Ensures accountability for the implementation of project plans and initiatives. SHRM competency. Influence. Inspires colleagues to understand and pursue the strategic vision and goals of HR and the organization. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals. Builds credibility as an HR expert within and outside of the organization. Promotes buy-in among organizational stakeholders for HR initiatives. Motivates HR staff and other stakeholders to support HR's vision and goals. Serves as an advocate for the organization or employees to advance the organization's strategic direction and goals. Shares opinions about important issues, regardless of risk or discouragement from others. For advanced HR professionals. Promotes the role of the HR function in achieving the organization's mission, vision, and goals. Builds credibility for the organization regionally, nationally, or internationally as an HR expert. Serves as an influential voice for HR strategies, philosophies, and initiatives within the organization. Advocates for the implementation of evidence-based HR solutions. Inspires HR staff, non-HR customers, and executive-level organizational stakeholders to support and pursue the organization's strategic direction, vision, and long-term goals. Builds consensus among leaders about the organization's strategic direction and long-term goals. Uses HR knowledge and skills to influence business strategy. empowers leaders to create an environment where there is tolerance for risk-taking and workers feel comfortable sharing ideas.